I am going to record this just for our future. So the topic is how some Indians are like very easy to get along with, and some are very, very difficult.
Yes.
So in India, this is my understanding. There are like how even here, like a classic behavior, like people who have class,
Yes.
so versus not the regular way that you are raised. So to put it down in nutshell, it's like have you have a social etiquette or not?
Yes.
Okay, that's what it boils down to, right? In America, we express it differently because when you go to college, when you have that like little bit of an edge on education,
Yeah.
you behave differently.
Yes.
There is no question.
Of course.
Versus like street skills. They say street
But
smart.
you can be just as smart street smart, but you're not educated verbal wise. You can't print when you go write an email. You don't write the same words as someone that has a master's degree in writing.
So see, it's not about education. It's not about communication. It's the space. My teacher says it in a very nice way. It's the space you hold for yourself.
Yeah.
You project. Let's say inside, right? We have such a difficulty accepting who we are. We become like energy vampires. We suck out the other person's energy to make us feel grow better, right?
Yeah.
So that comes not necessarily because of education, it's the social etiquette, like being so confident inside. The inner confidence, how it comes in society because of the education, but education plays a piece.
Yeah.
But it's the etiquette is another way, like, it's like the way I see in India is the way you were raised, you accepted your norm, and people like are raised a certain way, and certain behaviors are accepted, and the way it came into focus for me. Have you seen that Great Showman, the movie, Greatest Showman?
I've heard of it. I might have seen it.
So they write this guy is very poor.
Yeah.
And he works in a big what is it called, like a castle.
Yeah.
Okay, so he falls in love with the rich man's daughter, and so the rich man slaps him and really doesn't want him to be involved with his daughter, but eventually they fall in love, and so he goes out and he tries to raise a family. The girl is very happy with him, but he wants to prove to his father-in-law. So he becomes very, very rich. And then when he gets very rich, he invites his father-in-law and mother-in-law to come and do a dinner with them. And after they finish the dinner, he pokes at that situation. So he tells his father-in-law, "Now am I good enough for you?
Yeah.
Like you didn't accept me before. Now am I good enough for you?" So that's when the father-in-law comments, which was very nice. He says, "See, the new money, you can never be class." And I felt that is exactly what it is about. It is about class. And how do you teach class?
Yeah.
It's something that is, I don't even know how to get it. But one thing I understand is that's what my teacher paraphrases and says, it's the space you hold inside you that makes it into reality. Like inside you have a space. I'm so happy you are inviting that type of energy around you.
Yeah.
Inside, if you're saying to yourself, "I'm no good, I'm somebody that," so you draw that experiences to really emulate what you hold inside, right? So essentially it is whatever we are sending out is a vibe that is coming from inside. So if the world that you feel is treating you supremely nice, your content, that's coming from inside. You are feeling
you're
content.
The same person.
You're drawing that energy.
Yeah.
But whereas when you feel nobody's fair to you, I feel that in experientially get played out. So I feel the goal should be to go to that space that says, "I am enough."
Always be there. I have that same thing where you're saying you're 100% right. Things are going great and you're happy as usual. You're showing this great emotion. But then when things go bad, you're negative, you're down, and all this stuff. You're the same exact person in both of those situations, but it's just the surroundings that are making yourself. But you think it's the surroundings that are doing it, but it's really yourself that are doing it. It makes total sense.
Yesterday I was reading something. They said I was in the sauna there. They written when a lettuce that's grown, lettuce,
Yeah.
right? That's grown and like the sun was not right, so it didn't grow well, or the rain was over, so it flooded over. You never blame the lettuce.
Yeah.
You never say,
Just blame
you know.
the surroundings.
But whereas the same thing, right? A human that's grown in a certain environment, you always go back and blame the the person,
Yeah.
or but you are what you sowed yourself inside. So really, you need to dig out and say, okay, what is it my life about? What am I wanting to experience? So put out only vibes. That's good for you. There is a guy. His name is Harold. H-E-A-R. No, Herauld.
Yeah.
Harold.
Yeah.
K
Yeah.
Kautz. UTZ in the YouTube. He has lots of
Yeah.
videos, and he says there are lots of manipulation that's happening for our thinking through the environment. So he says instead going into the heart and making decisions based on compassion would reset the whole environment, because the thinking is coming from outside.
Yeah.
We are manipulated by our own environment, and don't get manipulated.
Yeah. That's very true. I agree with that 100%. It's tough though. It's so tough. Everything you're saying, to not let your environment, change you and manipulate you, but it happens all. I've always tried. Let me say this properly. So I had African American friends growing up, best friends, because we all play sports together. My two best friends are African. Everyone used to say, "Oh, Chuck, you're the white guy trying to be black because you hang out with these guys." Well, that's not the truth. It's because we have a lot of things in common and we're always around each other to make us become friends. But the world just totally believes that you're the white guy trying to be black. But it's not the truth. It's just this is how life dealt your hands, and these are your friends. And it doesn't matter if they're purple, orange, green, and stuff. So it's tough out there. And I always had that. People always saying that. And I always thought it was so wrong because I didn't care if they were orange or gray or whatever. They were kind. They took me in as their friend. I took them in as my friend. And, that's what mattered. But,
I think the world is shifting.
yeah,
I think
it's more acceptable, I feel like, now than it was 10, 15 years ago and stuff. Like father and his brother and his friends, they are so negative towards things to where nowadays I never felt that negativity of my own life, towards racism or political views, or I don't know, people are so opinionated. I feel like 20 years ago.
That's very interesting, because the thing about Harold, I was saying, he calls it black goo. There is a materialism. So when you make how Moses had a rock made,
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
says what you put out, even though it is said 10 commandments, he said the adjective doesn't matter. So don't commit adultery, right?
yeah, yeah.
But he says actually in universe they only hear adultery.
Yes,
The don't commit part doesn't get energized.
makes sense.
So he says the whole thing was a trick.
Yeah.
So the
Adultery.
10.
Everyone thinks about sleeping
So
with
so
their,
when you
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
says
yeah. I get it.
essentially.
I get it.
You do.
And yeah,
It was fascinating. I never even thought
I
about it
didn't
that
get it
way.
at first, but now I get it.
So he says, so that's why he says choose very carefully what you say. Like how you were saying about
Yeah.
how negativity.
Yeah,
So one thing is to focus on saying what you want to do rather than what you do not want to do.
because you're putting.
Don't do
word.
negative.
That's the
negative.
bold word that everyone's seeing. They don't care that do not or please
Yes,
don't
yes,
or
yes,
no
yes.
knows before it. That bold word that
Yes.
scares everyone in their face.
And he says that's the way community was manipulated.
Yep.
He says the whole thing is like a falsehood. You should watch it. And the other thing he said, which was fascinating, I am going to go see whether I can pick out the exact part in the video. So next time I'll pay it for you.
Yeah.
So here he's discussing with another lady. I got involved with him because I was looking into Marginal's disease. So that is a disease that's created by the government to manipulate. So this is what they feel it's an alien technology and stuff. But what happened is, so through that I got involved with him. He seemed very nice. He's very spiritual too. So one of the things he says is when there was Adam and Eve, he said on the background you could see Shiva, like Shiva has a linga, right?
Yeah.
And he says that's black goo. And the interesting part about black goo is it has two parts.
Yeah.
One that comes from the earth, which is Shiva linga, which is
Yeah.
like self-evolved.
Yeah.
That is compassionate. It
Mhm.
wants to heal. But there is another black goo that's very manipulative. So one is thinking. So it comes from the brain, one comes from the heart. So that's why you have two different ways. So people who are thinkers, autistic and all, they cannot ground themselves. So people who are grounded have to heal the other person
That
to
makes
bring them.
sense.
So he says that's where, if you see the Adam Eve picture, he says on the background you could see these lingas, like
Yeah,
these goos.
yeah.
But he said what happened was it seems Adam had a first wife, which I didn't know. Adam had a first wife. Have you heard
I
about this?
think no, maybe not, but I think so. I feel like it's something I've heard before. Religious
So
family.
he said Adam. It's in Kabbalah's
So maybe not.
that scriptures it's in. So Adam had a first wife. Her name starts with Lilitan or
Yeah.
some sort of a L name. And so he was dissatisfied with his marriage. He didn't find her attractive, so he sends her off to forest.
Yeah.
So then the thinking brain, right? Like it almost looks like a computer processor. It feels like it can manipulate you through computer, which is happening now. Catfish is happening,
Oh, God.
and
It's crazy.
pornography. So the computer creates a model for him that is artificial intelligence that will play with him. So Eve is actually a computer created creature that was programmed to attract Adam, so he will fail. I'm like
I
saying,
never heard
what
that
a
one. Yeah,
brilliant!
that's interesting.
It's like that whole matrix
Yeah.
phenomena you could see evolving. So there are these beings that create like a perception that creates a feeling in us. Not necessarily they are correct, but through them we experience these ups and downs, and we have been masking this whole evolution for a long time, and that's where digression happened. He said Adam and Eve is the first time we started walking away from the gods.
Yeah.
Because before that life was very pleasant, but we hated being in a pleasant world with no ups and
Yeah,
downs.
that makes sense.
So I'm like saying, when I watched it, I was just fascinated.
Yeah, it's very fun.
But then he goes into like a lot of other interpretation too. He said they were given crystals and they were specifically told not to paint.
Yeah.
But the minute you say not to, they do it.
'Cause they
So
have-
that's how David's arc happened. Like he was saying, like
I
so
like that
many
part
things.
the most.
Huh?
At the adultery part, I think out of everything you said, that sticks with me the most. That do not adultery. You never listen to do not. People adultery.
But anyway, so I was fascinated. He goes into so much detail.
Oh, it's-
You should
I
watch
gotta-
him.
I will, man.